actually part 2 to my part 2. Part 2 was about safety words, and one of the ideas that was brought up was risk-aware consensual kink, RAC. I'll put a link to it. Everything I've read basically says it's supposed to be a substitute for safe words in higher-end edge play. In my opinion, it's a good concept, but unless you know the person you're playing with extremely well and have been playing with them for years, you're not going to be safe. You're not going to. I'm going to tell you about a scene that I was in this past weekend, and I'm not going to use names, but I am going to describe the situation. I was involved in a scene that didn't use safe words. Now, you're going to say, well, that makes you a hypocrite, doesn't it? Not really. Because I was the third person in the scene. I was the extra pair of eyes. I knew both people who were playing extremely well, and my job was to make sure that if it did get out of hand, to step in and stop it. Okay, that was my authority in that scene. It was a ritual whipping scene that was set up to open up a person to deal with some trauma in their lives. Most of you aren't going to understand this because it deals with a very deep side of this lifestyle, and I'm not going to try to explain it, but even in that scene, we had a ton of people around us. The DM, the dungeon master, the dungeon monitor, was fully aware of it and knew that if he had a problem with it, he'd come to me and then I would deal with it. Okay? This is the kind of thing that when it happens is few and far between. The DM in this situation I talked to after the scene, and he's been in the life for 30 years and only seen this kind of scene maybe 3 times. That tells you how few and far between the being able to do a scene where there is not use of safe words makes sense. The thing is that if the person who was being whipped in this scene, in fact the majority of the buildup of it had the actual single tail being used, never really hit her body or hurt her. It was the buildup to that, and eventually towards the end she finally got and broke through those walls and was able to relax and enjoy the scene and was actually laughing and joking and dancing with the single tail towards the end of it. But the thing is that we all knew what the risks were. We all knew both the physical risk and the mental risk of it. But this scene wouldn't have happened between just these 2 people. This scene would have happened, if the scene had happened between 2 people, it could have gone dangerously wrong. This is the kind of scene that happens with a lot of people. Primarily 2 people watching, 2 people involved in the scene, usually a third or fourth person being there as a third or fourth participant as protector in the scene, and then of course the people who are watching, who are adding their energy to the scene. But the thing about it is that has absolutely nothing to do with what's going on in the scene. Why we weren't using safe words. When you're in a scene and you're not using safe words, you are putting yourself, especially as a submissive, at risk. Especially with somebody you don't know. If you've been playing with them for 10 years and you feel comfortable not using safe words, then that should be your choice, not the dominance. To any dominant, and I've had dominant, well, I've Been playing with my girl for 10 years and I don't use safe words. Fine, you've been playing with her for 10 years. But would you say that same thing with somebody you just met yesterday? Would you say that same thing with somebody who you go to a club and they go, hey, I like your style, let's play? Would you say, well, I don't play with safe words, when you're using these other things with people you've been playing with for years? I don't care how skilled of a dom you think you are. I don't care how long you've been a submissive and how many scenes you've been in. Unless you know the person intimately, safe words are needed. I play with somebody, her name is Belle. I've been playing with her for 5+ years now. She's been in life for probably 30 years, and I've been in life for 14 or so years. I've been playing with her for that amount of time, but I still use safe words with her. She almost never uses them, but they're there. They're there for her protection and for my protection. And I want everybody to understand, if you're going to use rack or any other system like that, please do. But use safe words on top of it. Safe words are your insurance policy. You're not going to go out and drive down the street without insurance, because what's going to happen if you get in an accident? You're not going to get into a car and drive without a seatbelt, because what happens? Think of safe words as your insurance policy. So that's what I have on this. Like I said, I'm still working on the third safety video, and that's going to be a lot deeper. It's going to talk about finding out about who the person you're playing with is, really seeing if they're real, seeing if they can actually back up their story, and let them introduce you to people who they know or clubs they're involved in, things like that. A lot of things, but I'm not ready to do it yet. So, but I wanted to do this one to continue this conversation. So, anyways, be well and safe.